So imagine you're running a business, right? Teams everywhere.
Mhm.
Construction sites, service calls, maybe event setups, spread out, sometimes way out there.
Yeah. And the big question is always, how do you actually know who's where, who's doing what?
Exactly. And are your tools safe? Is time tracking even close to accurate? Forget buddy punching.
Uh-huh. The old ways, physical keys, paper timesheets, they just don't cut it anymore. They're, well, inefficient.
And insecure. It's a real headache. Leads to wasted time, risks, just a lack of real oversight.
It's a fundamental problem for these kinds of businesses. You need that control, that visibility.
And that's precisely the gap a system called SiteGrid Connect seems designed to fill. So today, we're doing a deep dive, looking only at the information we have from the source materials provided for this system.
Right. Our goal is to unpack it, understand its parts, how they work together, basically see how it aims to create this secure, connected bubble on any job site.
Okay, let's start right there. The core problem it's tackling and its basic philosophy. We're talking about getting rid of those weak spots.
The lost keys, the maybe not time entries, the who knows who opened that container problem.
These aren't small things for businesses, are they? They cost money, lost gear, payroll mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. It directly impacts the bottom line. So SiteGrid Connect comes in as this integrated thing, hardware, a private network on site, plus cloud management, all in one.
And a philosophy that caught my eye is this idea of a self-sufficient, closed-loop ecosystem right there on the site.
Exactly. It's built not to rely on, say, an employee's phone signal or piggybacking on the client's Wi-Fi, which might not be secure.
It creates its own little tech world.
Yeah, and central to that world is the employee's fob. It's not just a gadget. It's their official digital ID within that SiteGrid environment. It's how they punch in, how they request access.
Okay, so structurally, how does it set up this bubble? The sources mention two main environments.
That's right. First, you've got the on-site environment. Think of it as the local setup. The SiteGrid mesh router creates a private Wi-Fi network right there.
And all the gear on-site fobs, locks they talk within that network.
Correct. Keeps it contained and secure. Then second, there's the central management environment.
Back at the office, basically.
Pretty much. It's the cloud software, the SiteGrid management portal, access through a web browser. This is the master control, the single source of truth for everything. Who's hired, their permissions, all the activity logs.
So how do these two worlds, the site and the central office, talk to each other?
That's the job of the Site Control Supervisor app. It runs on a designated smartphone that the supervisor carries.
Okay.
The app connects to the private mesh network on site so it can talk to the fobs and locks. Then it uses the phone's own cellular connection, its data plan, to sync everything up with that central management portal in the cloud.
It's the bridge.
Exactly, the gateway. And what's really important, especially for remote sites, is resilience.
Ah, yeah, connectivity can be spotty.
Right. The sources say the system's designed so the site can keep working, clocking in, unlocking things, even if that cellular link to the main server goes down.
How does that work?
The supervisor app basically holds the necessary info locally, like who's allowed to open what lock. It processes the actions on site and just queues up the data. When the connection comes back, boom, it syncs everything up.
Okay, that's smart. Avoids grinding things to a halt.
Definitely a key design feature. So, shall we dig into the actual components, the bits and pieces?
Let's do it. First up, the SiteGrid fob, the thing the employee carries.
Yep, their digital ID and key, essentially. Described as pretty rugged, pocket-sized. It's got a small screen, like a simple text display, and a physical number pad.
And tech-wise.
It's got Wi-Fi to connect to that mesh network we talked about, and also Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE.
Now, you mentioned earlier the fob uses Wi-Fi to talk to the supervisor app, right? Not directly to the locks with BLE.
Correct. That's a crucial point from the workflow descriptions. The fob sends its messages over Wi-Fi to the app. The app is the one that then uses BLE to command the locks.
Got it. App is the middleman.
No.
So the fob is preset for each employee.
Yeah, assigned to one person. The Wi-Fi details for the mesh network are baked in, secure the employee doesn't know or need them.
And main uses are clocking in out, getting simple messages, initiating unlocks.
Right. And for those sensitive things, like asking to unlock a lock, there's that extra security layer. The employee has to punch in their personal key code, their PIN, on the fob's keypad.
So two-factor auth, the fob itself, plus the PIN they know?
Exactly. Something you have, something you know, makes it much more secure.
But what about that stealth ping feature?
Ah, yes. The supervisor app can send a command, a ping, over the Wi-Fi to a specific fob. The fob responds instantly with its ID number, but silently. Nothing shows up on the fog screen.
So the supervisor can check if a fob, and presumably the employee carrying it, is within range of the network without alerting them.
Precisely. A quick, discrete status check.
Okay, moving to the physical side. The SiteGrid Smart Lock.
These are the actual locks for, tool cribs, trailers, site gates, proprietary design, battery operated, built to be tamper resistant. They mention a physical master key override too for emergencies.
And communication. Just BLE.
Only BLE. And only listening for commands from a verified site control supervisor app. It doesn't talk to fobs, doesn't connect to the Wi-Fi.
So it sits there, low power, waiting for the app to tell it to open.
Exactly. And the rules for who can open which lock and when, those permissions are all set back in the main management portal and sent down to the supervisor app. The app enforces those rules locally.
Which leads us to the heart of that on-site network, the site-gridded mesh router.
This is what creates that private Wi-Fi bubble. It's described as portable, tough, industrial grade. Supervisor sets it up each day, powers it on.
And the big security benefit is clear. It isolates all the system's communication.
Totally. Keeps it off public networks, off the client's potentially less secure network. Boosts reliability, too.
Makes sense. And tying it all together on-site is that Site Control Supervisor app.
Running on the supervisor's designated phone. Connects to the mesh, uses its own cell data to reach the cloud.
You called it the protocol bridge before.
Yeah, because it translates. It gets Wi-Fi messages from the fobs, figures out what needs to happen based on the permissions and schedules it has stored locally.
Stored locally, right, from the portal sync.
Exactly. And then it sends the right command, usually via BLE, to the specific smart lock. It makes the real-time decisions on site. Plus, it's the supervisor's window into the system, seeing status, sending messages, doing those pings.
Okay, and the final piece, the command center for the whole operation, the SiteGrid management portal.
The web application. This is where the business owner or admin lives, digitally speaking. Setting up employees, assigning fobs, managing pins.
All the personnel stuff.
Right. Plus, scheduling who works when, which feeds into the authorization rules. And importantly, defining the access control. This person can open that lock between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. weekdays, but not weekends. Very granular.
And payroll data. Report.
Yep. Reviewing and exporting the digital time logs. And system admin tasks, like if a fob is lost, you deactivate it here immediately. Monitoring system health, looking at activity.
And the audit log. That seems like a huge emphasis.
Massive. The sources stress this. It tracks everything. Every clock in, clock out, every unlock attempt, successful or not, every ping, every permission change. It's meant to be the indisputable record.
Accountability Central.
Pretty much. It's designed to eliminate guesswork and provide proof.
Okay, we've got the parts list. Let's make it real. How does a typical workflow, like clocking in, actually happen according to the sources?
Okay, so employee wants to clock in. They hit the button on their fob. Fob prompts for their PIN in. They punched in. If it's correct, the fob verifies it internally, then bundles up its own unique ID with a clock in command.
Sends that over the mesh Wi-Fi.
To the supervisor app. The app receives it, adds a timestamp right then and there, might show a confirmation on its screen, and then relays that clock in event up to the central portal via its cellular connection.
So automated, verified, logged. No more paper sheets blowing away.
Exactly. Replaces manual entry with a secure digital event.
Now, unlocking a lock, that seemed more complex with the fob app blockchain. Walk us through that.
Okay. Employee needs to open a job box. They go to the lock, initiate the unlock sequence on their fob nearby.
Enter their PN again.
Yes. Fob verifies the payon. Then it sends an authenticated unlock request, basically saying fob ID 123 wants to unlock lock XYZ over the Wi-Fi to the supervisor app.
So the app gets this request. What next?
This is where the app's local brain power kicks in. It gets the request, identifies the fob ID, so it knows who is asking, and the intended lock. It then checks its own internal data, the permissions, and schedules it synced earlier from the portal.
Ah, the local check.
Right. It asks itself, is this employee authorized to open this specific lock right now? If the answer is yes.
Then the app talks to the lock.
Correct. Only if authorized, the app sends the open command directly to that smart lock using Bluetooth Low Energy. The lock clicks open.
And the whole thing gets locked.
Instantly. The request, the authorization check result, the unlock command being sent, it's all recorded by the app and synced back to the portal. That local authorization is crucial for making it fast and work even if the cell connection is down.
That makes total sense. Okay, last workflow. That stealth ping. How does the supervisor trigger that?
They just use their supervisor app. They'd likely pull up a list of employees assigned to their site, select one, and tap a button like check status or ping fob.
The app then sends a message over the mesh Wi-Fi,
Yep, a specific send ID command targeted at that employee's fob.
and the fob just whispers back its ID.
Essentially, yes, the sources are clear. It responds instantly with its serial number, but there's no beep, no light, no message on the fob screen. Completely silent response.
The app gets the ID back.
Looks up who that ID belongs to using its local data, checks their current schedule, also stored locally, and then displays the info to the supervisor on the app screen. Something like, John Doe scheduled to work 8 a.m., 4 p.m.
And logs that ping event, too.
Of course, logs everything. It's a quick, low-key way for the supervisor to verify someone's presence and system status.
Got it. So pulling back, based on all this detail from the sources, who's the ideal customer for SiteGrid Connect?
It's very clearly aimed at businesses with those mobile teams working in shifting locations. The sources explicitly mention general contractors, construction firms, skilled trades like plumbers or electricians, field service companies, landscapers, logistics operators, folks managing events, and even security services.
A pretty broad range, but all sharing that distributed workforce challenge
Exactly.
and the big picture benefits pitched in the sources.
It boils down to unparalleled accountability, security, and efficiency. The idea is to take a potentially chaotic job site and make it a fully connected, controlled environment.
So concrete things like
Streamlined payroll, accurate digital time records, no more buddy punching because of the fob-PN combo, instantly revoking access if someone leaves or loses a fob, and that comprehensive, indisputable audit trail for compliance or investigations.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive, based only on the provided materials, SiteGrid Connect presents itself as this end-to-end system. Secure private network on-site, dedicated hardware like the fobs and locks, all managed centrally through the cloud portal.
With the supervisor app acting as that crucial on-site bridge and local brain.
It really seems designed to impose structure, security, and that deep level of accountability onto environments that are often inherently messy and hard to track. Taking control, gaining visibility.
Yeah, cutting through the noise of manual processes, lost keys, questionable timesheets, addressing those core pain points we started with.
Which brings us to a final thought. Thinking about that audit log again, recording every clock in, every unlock, every single ping, what does having that level of detailed, undeniable, minute-by-minute oversight actually mean for managing a team on-site day-to-day? Forget disputes. Think about just the awareness it creates. How does that change the dynamic? Something for you, the listener, to think about the real-world impact of that level of transparency and traceability.